Do you remember when all it took was a piece of chalk, a rope, or a simple button to spend hours playing in the street? Today, I'm taking you on a journey to discover 25 games that made Italian childhood magical between the 50s and 70s. Games that many of us have forgotten but that deserve to be told. Get ready to rediscover stories, rules, and secrets that perhaps even your parents never told you about. But before we start this journey back in time, if you too want to preserve these memories and discover other stories of the Italy that was, subscribe to the channel The Italia We Remember. We're a community that doesn't want to forget. We were children in an Italy that was getting back on its feet, where cars were beginning to populate the streets, but the courtyards were still ours. We didn't have consoles or smartphones, yet we didn't even know what boredom was. Our games were born from ingenuity, creativity, and that desire to be together that seems so distant today. Each season brought with it its rituals, its challenges, its neighborhood champions, and we were there, with scraped knees and smiles on our faces, building memories that would last a lifetime. Let's start with Lippa, that game that required only 2 pieces of wood and sniper-like precision. The smaller piece, sharpened at the ends, was hit with the longer stick to make it jump into the air and then launched as far as possible. It seemed simple, but becoming good required weeks of training. Every courtyard had its champion, the one who could make the Lippa fly beyond the wall, beyond the street, almost beyond the horizon. Count how many arguments about measurements. We measured in steps, in bricks, sometimes even with shoes removed to avoid cheating. Then there was the hoop, pushed with a curved stick down the slopes of the village. The lucky ones had a real bicycle rim, others made do with what they could find. But the satisfaction was the same for everyone when the hoop rolled perfectly, obediently, following every curve of the path we had in mind. It was a silent dance between us and that simple object, a harmony that was created only after hours of practice. Hopscotch, or mondo as we called it in some regions, transformed every sidewalk into a playing field. We drew that ladder to the sky with chalk, numbered from 1 to 10, and threw the stone. Jumping on one leg seemed easy until you reached square 8 or 9 when your legs trembled and balance became a conquest. The Bambine were often the undisputed queens of this game, with a grace and precision that we boys could only envy. Hide and seek was pure poetry. Counting to 100 with eyes closed against the wall, hearing footsteps running away, the sudden silence. And then the hunt, scrutinizing every corner, every half-open door, every bush. The thrill of being discovered, the desperate race toward home base, the heart beating so hard you could hear it in your ears. Which of us never made friends with a doorway, a garage, a cellar? Bandiera, or flag, gathered dozens of children in the square. 2 teams, numbers assigned to each player, and someone in the middle holding a handkerchief. When your number was called, you had to run, grab the flag, and return to your line without being tagged. The tension was palpable, the strategy complex. Those split-second decisions made champions of ordinary children. Palla Avvelenata, poison ball, was organized chaos. A circle of players and someone in the middle trying to dodge a ball thrown with increasing force. If you got hit, you were out. The last one standing was the hero of the day. We learned to move, to anticipate, to read the thrower's eyes, to understand where the ball would go. Mosca Cieca, blind man's bluff, turned our world upside down. With a blindfold over your eyes, you had to catch the others who moved around you, whispering, touching you lightly, disappearing. When you finally caught someone, you had to guess who it was, by touch alone. Strega Comanda color required only our legs and quick thinking. The witch called out a color, and everyone had to run to touch something of that shade before being caught. Those frantic moments, searching desperately for blue, yellow, or red, taught us to observe our surroundings like never before. Quattro cantoni, 4 corners, was mathematical precision meets physical speed. 5 players, 4 corners, and the one in the middle trying to steal a spot when others switched. The tension built as you tried to make eye contact with another player, agreeing silently to switch, while the person in the middle watched desperately. Palla Prigioniera, prisoner ball, divided us into 2 teams separated by a line. If the ball hit you, you became a prisoner in the enemy's back court. Only a perfect catch or a teammate's heroic throw could free you. The game could last hours with prisoners accumulating and dramatic rescues happening when you least expected them. Acchiapparella, or tag, seems simple now, but we turned it into an art form. We had versions with safe zones, versions where you froze when touched, versions where the touch could be passed on. Every neighborhood had its own rules, its own variations that made the game uniquely ours. Regina Reginella asked the eternal question in sing-song voices. We stood in a line asking the Queen how many steps we could take, and she assigned different types: ant steps, elephant steps, kangaroo jumps. The unfairness taught us early that life wasn't always equal, but we could laugh about it. Elastico required a long elastic band stretched between two children's legs, while a third jumped through increasingly complex patterns. The elastic rose from ankles to knees to waists, and the patterns became more intricate. It was gymnastics, memory, and rhythm all combined. Beagley marbles were our currency, our treasures, our obsession. We traded them, won them, lost them, collected them. Each marble had its own character, its own weight and role. The champion shooter could calculate angles like a physicist, understanding trajectory with an intuition that came from thousands of shots. Trotula, the spinning top, was mesmerized motion. We learned to wrap the string just right, to launch with the perfect flick of the wrist, to make it spin for what seemed like forever. Competitions were fierce, battles between tops that knocked each other out of circles like gladiators. Cavallina, Leapfrog, built human pyramids and tested our trust. We bent over in a line, and others ran and vaulted over our backs, one after another, creating a human chain of jumping and supporting. The taller the pyramid, the more glorious the achievement. Campana Sinise added complexity to Hopscotch, with diagonal jumps and double squares. Fazzoletto tested our nerve and speed as we grabbed handkerchiefs from between competitors. Rialzo was tag where elevation meant safety, turning every space into a vertical puzzle. Settimana had us sliding stones through 7 squares, representing days of the week. Bottiglia spun to decide fates randomly. Cianco tested endurance as we hopped on one foot until our legs burned. Pario Dispari settled disputes with the mathematics of fingers. Nascondino al Buio brought terror and thrill to summer evenings. And Rubamazzo taught us strategy as we stole objects from central piles. These 25 games were more than entertainment. They were our education in physics, strategy, social dynamics, and resilience. We learned to negotiate rules, to accept defeat, to celebrate victory with humility. We learned that the best things in life required nothing but imagination and friends willing to play until the streetlights came on and our mothers called us home for dinner. Today, when we see children glued to screens, we feel something has been lost. Not because technology is bad, but because those games taught us something screens cannot. How to be present, how to create something from nothing, how to turn a simple street into a universe of possibilities. These games connected us to the earth beneath our feet, to the seasons that dictated what we played, to each other in ways that formed bonds lasting decades. How many of us still remember the name of our childhood rival at marbles, our partner in hopscotch, the friend who always found the best hiding spot? If you have stories about these games, if you remember variations we haven't mentioned, if you want to share your memories and become protagonists of our next videos, write to us at the email you'll find in the description. Your stories matter. Your memories deserve to be preserved. Together, we're keeping alive an Italy that exists now only in our hearts and in these precious recollections we share. Subscribe, leave a comment telling us which game was your favorite, and join us as we continue to remember the Italy we were, the children we used to be, and the magic that existed when all we needed to be happy was a piece of chalk and a friend to play with until the sun went down.